प्रणाम स्मरण।
ओम 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 प्रणाम। ओम स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Namaskar to all of you. Welcome to the study of Ramakrishna, the Great Master. In the beginning, we will start with a little discussion on the Raj Yoga, where we will discuss on the aspect of Samadhi, because Gadadhar, even in the childhood, he used to have the experiences of Samadhi. So if we know the science behind that, we can better understand what is the position or what is the experience of Gadadhar. So we're doing that past two classes. Today we will continue with that. I will just read a little more about what I had started in the last class about Samadhi. The next step is when the elements are given up, both gross and fine. And the object of meditation is the interior organ. So the interior organ is our mind and the thinking organ. When the thinking organ is thought of as bereft of the qualities of activity and dullness, it is then called sananda, the blissful samadhi. When the mind itself is the object of meditation, when meditation becomes very ripe and concentrated, when all ideas of the gross and fine materials are given up, when the sattva state only of the ego remains, but differentiated from all other objects, it is called Sasmita Samadhi. The man who has attained to this has attained to what is called in the Vedas bereft of body. He can think of himself as without his gross body. But he will have to think of himself as with a fine body. Those that in this state get merged in nature without attaining the goal are called Prakriti Layas or Prakriti Leena Purushas. But those who do not stop even there reach the goal, which is freedom. So if we stop here, we got some experience, we have got some powers. You will get so many powers with this samadhi. So you will be bereft of body. He thinks himself as without this gross body. He will have to think of himself as with a fine body. Those who have reached that and they don't want to go further, you'll get a lot of joy, you'll get a lot of powers. Then those people will not get freedom, complete liberation or complete the highest freedom. They get merged in nature, Prakriti, without attaining the goal. They are called Prakriti Layas or Prakriti Leena Purushas. They are the one, after giving up that body, they become the Devatas like Indra, Chandra, Vayu, Varna, all the other small letter God. The Devatas, the Ashwini Devatas. Now, if you still persist, you will give up the idea that you don't want even these powers, Anima, Lagima, Garima, all those, so much of powers you can see, you can do so many miracles, so many powers. So you don't want that, you give up that too. You go forward to get the real freedom. Then what happens? There is another samadhi which is attained by constant practice of cessation of all mental activity, in which the chitta retains only the unmanifested impressions. So, in that, the chitta has only the unmanifested impressions. This is the perfect superconscious. The name of the samadhi is called Asamprajnata Samadhi. I'll again repeat it. It's called the Asamprajnata Samadhi. Another samadhi which is attained by constant practice of cessation of all mental activity, in which the chitta retains only the unmanifested impressions. So the impressions means samskaras, the unmanifested one in the seed form is still there in the mind. That is called, this is the perfect superconscious asamprajnata samadhi, the state which gives us freedom. The first state does not give us freedom, complete freedom. Here you have got freedom, which earlier one does not liberate the soul. A man may attain to all powers there, and yet you can fall again. Fall means you are not liberated yet. There is no safeguard until the soul goes beyond nature. You should go beyond the control of nature. It is very difficult to do so. Although the method seems easy, the method is to meditate on the mind itself. And whenever thought comes, to strike it down, allowing no thought to come into the mind, thus making it an entire vacuum. So when we call, when we really, when we can really do this, that very moment we shall attain liberation. So creating vacuum. That is what you can see in Buddhism, making it shunya. You see Buddha always telling making it shunya. And he calls it as nirvana. So when you can create that, stop all the thoughts coming, you meditate on the mind itself. Whenever thought comes, is to strike it down, allowing no thought to come into the mind, thus making it vacant. They are likely to succeed only in. So now there is one danger. People may think who are at the lower state. So we will make our mind vacant or we will create vacuum. This is told by Swami Vivekananda Raj Yoga at the very high state, when you have already crossed, when you come to asampragnata samadhi. If we confuse this and start creating vacuum at the lower state in the meditation, then what happens? So first thing is, when we can really do this, creating the vacuum, that very moment we shall attain liberation. When persons without training and preparation try to make their minds vacant, they are likely to succeed only in covering themselves with tamas. So because you are at a lower state, you have not made the preparation, just hearing and reading somewhere without the help of the guru, then you go to create a vacuum, then what happens? So then you are likely to succeed only in covering yourselves with tamas, the material of ignorance, which will make the mind dull and stupid and leads them to think that they are making a vacuum of the mind. To be able to really do that is to manifest the greatest strength, the highest control. When this state, asampragnata samadhi, superconsciousness is reached, the samadhi becomes seedless. So you should note the term seedless. We are all aware of the seedless grapes, the seedless pomegranates, so many seedless things. But here, what do you mean by seedless? So this samadhi, asampragnata, when that state asampragnata, superconsciousness is reached, this samadhi becomes seedless. That means, suppose you have some seeds, you just put it into the ground, it sprouts. So all your samskaras, all the impressions, your desires, everything is in the form of seeds. So if you leave it there, as you saw in the devatas, they become devatas in the earlier samadhi. You get all the powers. But it is there in the unmanifested form, that is the seed form, the desires, the samskaras. So they can sprout any time. And they can create you again ignorance, desires, and you will do all the actions. But here it has become seedless. That means the seed is burnt. So no more sprouting again. The desires are completely gone. The impressions are completely gone. Even the unmanifested state of impression is gone. So that is asampragnata. Superconsciousness is reached. Samadhi becomes seedless. What is meant by that? In a concentration where there is consciousness, where the mind succeeds only in quelling the waves in the chitta and holding them down, the waves remain in the form of tendencies, impressions, samskaras. These tendencies or seeds become waves again. when the time comes. But when you have destroyed all these tendencies, almost destroyed the mind, almost destroyed the mind, then the samadhi becomes seedless. There are no more seeds in the seedless round of, there are no more seeds in the mind out of which to manufacture again and again this plant of life. Again, I'll repeat that. Then the samadhi becomes seedless. There are no more seeds in the mind out of which to manufacture again and again this plant of life. This ceaseless round of birth and death will really be gone then. Then only you can overcome death, birth, because you have overcome birth, you have overcome death. No fear of death now. So this is the highest state, asampragnata. You have got real freedom. The samadhi has become seedless. There are no more seeds in the mind out of which to manufacture again and again this plant of life, this ceaseless round of birth and death. Now you may ask the question. Swami Vivekananda imagines that you will get some question and he himself poses that question for us. You may ask, what state would that be in which there is no mind at all? You're telling that the mind is almost destroyed. What state is that if you have no mind at all, there is no knowledge? Are we not like a stone? Are we not like some rock or something? There's no knowledge. What we call knowledge, now Swami Vivekananda explains, what we call knowledge is a lower state. That the one, but this is one beyond knowledge, beyond knowledge. What we call knowledge, the regular thing we have, the wise people, the knowledge and other things is much, much lower. Even to tell Om, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to tell us, I had to come down so much lower to the lower state, even to utter Om. So that is samadhi. So there, knowledge, you have gone beyond even the knowledge. It's a very higher state. Don't think that if there is no mind and if there is no thought, that is something like a inanimated thing or something like a rock or dead thing. No, it is higher than that. It is beyond knowledge. You must always bear in mind that the extremes look very much alike. You take a madman and you take a very wise man, they look very similar. You can see the photo of the great scientist Einstein and an ordinary man, they look very alike. But there is ocean of difference between them. Likewise, you can, Swami Vivekananda is telling, you must always bear in mind that the extremes look very much alike. If a very low vibration of ether is taken as darkness, an intermediate state as light, very high vibration will be darkness again. Now you can see why Lord Krishna, Mother Kali, and other some of the deities are dark in color. Is it tamas? No, it is something beyond this. So that's why while Ramaprasad was singing about Mother Kali, used to tell, is my mother Kali dark, black in color? Shama ma ki amar kalore. So is my mother dark? That's the thing you can see. It looks like that dark. So again, I will repeat that you will understand it better. From the highest state, wonderful things are being told to us by Swami Vivekananda. You must always bear in mind that the extremes look very much alike. If a very low vibration of ether is taken as darkness, an intermediate state of that vibration of ether is light, state as light. Very high vibration will be darkness again. When one of the close relatives of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa in Dakshineshwar, Haladari, teased and taunted and criticized about Mother Kali as she's tamasic, she's dark and tamasic. Ramakrishna got upset. He's calling my mother as tamasic. He felt upset like a small child, went crying to mother. Mother, Aladar is calling me, calling you as tamasic. Is it true? Then Mother Kali showed a real form, this highest form, extremes, extreme ether, vibration of the ether is also looks like darkness, the highest state. So we think that tamas at the lower state, yes, that is also her part only. But when she showed her reality, then Ramakrishna became so happy, he came down. You called my mother as tamas? No, she is beyond that. She showed me. She showed she is something very, very higher than that. She is beyond all these sattva, rajas, tamas. She is Triguna, that we tell that in Sarvamangala Mangalye, Shive Sarvartha Sadhike, Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayana Namostute in that stotra. She is not only all the three gunas, she is also the bearer, the one who gives these three gunas. She is something very, very, very much beyond that all. Even she is greater than Sattva also. So that is what you can see here. Swami Vivekananda is so nicely explaining. You must always bear in mind that the extremes look very much alike. Now, when you understand all these things, now when Ramakrishna has all these visions, you can have some inkling, because we have not yet got all of us. It will take some time to get all these higher experiences. It's not so easy. We are understanding this at the intellectual level. Swami Vivekananda, who had all these experiences, is Dhyana Siddha. He was in the very high state, that state of the Saptarishi Mandala. It is even beyond the heaven. It is even beyond Vaikunta. It is even beyond all the things in Saptarishi Mandala. So from there, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, the condensed form of Parabrahma Swarupa, that is Avatar Purusha, he comes down and brings him down to this earth. So not only he was from that higher state, even when he came here, he had that experience of Samadhi and is giving all that details to Swami Vivekananda, who has experienced, who has gone beyond that, who was there in the Saptarshi Mandala. He is giving us all these knowledge so we can understand clearly. You must always bear in mind that the extremes look very much alike. If a very low vibration of ether is taken as darkness, and intermediate state as light, very high vibration will be darkness again. Similarly, ignorance is the lowest state. Knowledge is the middle state. And beyond knowledge is the highest state, the two extremes of which seems the same. Knowledge itself is manufactured something, a combination. It is not reality. Knowledge is itself is a manufactured something. It's a combination. It's not reality. What is the result of constant practice of this higher concentration, this samadhi? All old tendencies of restlessness and dullness will be destroyed in this samadhi, as well as the tendencies of goodness too. Not only of the bad tendencies, but of the good tendencies too. So you'll be going beyond bad and good. Again, bad and good are dualities. It is in the nature. That is also, you are going beyond that. Bad are also destroyed, good are also. Just like papa, the sin, the bad things are like iron chains or iron cages. The punya or good things is like the golden chain or golden cage. You'll become very happy if you have golden chain. You are locked up in golden chain or golden cage. Ha ha ha. So much of gold, you will be happy. But that is also bondage. You are locked in the golden chain, locked. It's a bondage. See, now you see, when there was no coronavirus or pandemic, suppose you did some mistake, the policeman will go and lock up you in the jail. But now, because of the pandemic, we don't have any problem, but we are locked up in the house. It is also that is lock up, and this is lockdown. What is the difference? Somebody had given the difference. What is the difference between lock up and lockdown? There you will be looked after by the policeman. Here you will be looked after by the wife in the house. So that is the only difference between lock up and lockdown. So you have to go beyond all these things, not this lock up and lockdown. I'm telling about the good and bad. I just gave an example there, that's all. So you are going beyond even good and bad, papa and punya. So knowledge itself is manufactured something, a combination, it is not reality. What is the result of constant practice of this higher concentration? What do you get from that? All old tendencies of restlessness and dullness will be destroyed from the seed form. Then there will be no chances of sprouting, as well as the tendencies of goodness too. The case is similar to that of the chemicals used to take the dirt and alloy of the gold. The chemical is used to take the dirt and alloy of the gold. When the ore is smelted down, the dross is burnt along with the chemicals. So this constant controlling power will stop the previous bad tendencies and eventually the good ones also. Those good and evil tendencies will suppress each other, leaving alone the soul in its original pristine beauty. So the soul is left alone, leaving alone the soul in its own splendor, untrammeled by either good or bad, the omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Then the man will know that he had neither birth nor death. Now you can understand that you never had any birth or death, nor need for heaven or earth. He will know that he neither came nor went. It was nature which was moving, and that the movement was reflected upon the soul. It was just like the reflection on the soul, that's all. That reflection, that movement of the nature, you thought that you were born, you were bound, you had pain, you had enjoyment, you had all the celebrations, but it was not in the soul. It was only of the nature, the movement of the nature. So all this birth and death, heaven and earth, he will know that he neither came nor went. It was nature which was moving, and that movement was reflected upon the soul. The form of the light reflected by the glass upon the wall moves. Another example is given by Swami Vivekananda. The form of the light reflected by the glass upon the wall moves, and the wall foolishly thinks it is moving. So, with all of us, it is the chitta constantly moving, making itself into various forms, the mind stuff chitta. And we think that the soul is having, undergoing all those things. We are these various forms. All these delusions will vanish. All the delusions will vanish when that free soul will command. All the delusions will vanish when the free soul, that is you, will command. You are not requesting, you are not begging, you are commanding. Then you become the free soul. Not pray or beg, but you are command. You can command them. Then whatever you desire, whatever it desires, will be immediately fulfilled. Whatever it wants, it will be able to do. That is real freedom. That is the highest samadhi, where there'll be no mind, no good, no bad, nothing, no impressions, seedless form. So that is asampragnata, sampragnata. So that is the highest form of samadhi. Even you go beyond the control of the devatas, the nature. The Indra, Chandra, Vayu, Varuna are still lower compared to you at this time. You've gone beyond. You don't want even powers. You don't have even desire for the highest power, highest position, highest name and fame. You just become the soul itself. Then your command, you can command. No need of praying, no need of begging. You can command. So that is the highest state given here. That is the highest samadhi. So Swami Vivekananda has taken us through various stages of Samadhi. Now we shall understand the life of Gadadhar in a better way, and also of Ramakrishna later on when he gets the Samadhi, if it is necessary. I'll take you through these teachings of Samadhi again if you want it, because you might have forgotten at that time. But now we shall come to the beautiful life of Gadadhar. We have all this knowledge of little of knowledge of the Samadhi. Now again we will give up all other aspect, our old age, our qualification, everything will become like small children, aged somewhere between 12 and 13, to go and join Gadadhar in Kamarpukur. Now, in the last class, we saw Gadadhar. However, he went to school for a while, almost every day. But this was due to his attraction for the company of boys of his own age. He now spent most of his time in the worship of Raghuvira and in lightening the mother's burden by assisting her in household work. On account of all these activities, he had to remain at home for the greater part of the day. Since Gadadhar now spent much time at home because he was helping his mother and he was doing his puja, worship of Raghuvira. So Gadadhar spent much time at home. So what was this? An opportunity for other people. The women of the village had good opportunities of seeing him there. Now they could easily come to the house and talk to Gadadhar, talk to him, hear from him the poems of gods and goddesses, the story of Bhagavata, Ramayana, Mahabharata from his mouth. He had got by heart. He had memorized everything, his photographic memory. Not only just memorized the verses and he could explain so beautifully everything, but he also could imitate, mimic the Kathakaras who used to tell those, if the people used to narrate all those things, the meaning of those Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavata, and other things, he could mimic, he could imitate, whether it would be a man or a woman. He was so perfect in mimicry, and imitation. He could do all those things, just like we call Ekapatra Abhinaya. Suppose in the drama there are so many roles. He used to take all the different roles himself, change his voice. If that was a woman, he would change his voice. Sometimes he would even change his dress and look like that and show all that thing about gods and goddesses, about Ramayana, Mahabharata, all in that young age to all the people of Kamarpukur. So now when the women of the village had good opportunities of seeing him there in the house, he used to spend more time in helping mother in all the household works and other duties. He was so devoted to mother, he would be always helping her. When they were free from their household duties, the women, many of them would come to Chandramani Devi, and if they found the boy at home, would sometimes ask him to sing for them on gods and goddesses and read religious narratives. Gadadhar obliged them accordingly whenever he could. If they found him busy helping his mother, they would themselves finish up the work. Now Gadadhar, he is now working with the mother, helping mother. He's busy now, he can't come and sing or show them, narrate them all these Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavata, and other Puranas. So what would these women do? They would also come there, finish off all the work of Gadadhar and the mother very quickly. They would finish their own house chores, all the work in the house quickly and come here. And if Gadadhar is working, they used to take up all those work, finish the work quickly. If they found Gadadhar helping his mother busy, they would themselves finish up the work to afford him time to read out to them from the Puranas or to sing. This became almost a daily routine. It became a daily thing. Every day, these women of Kamarpukur and other places, even outside the village, they used to finish all their household works because all the children have gone to the school or to the husband have gone to the field to work in the garden or in the agricultural fields. So now the women folks would finish off quickly the work and come here to hear about gods and goddesses from Gadadhar. If Gadadhar is busy helping mother, they used to do the work of Gadadhar also and make him free so that they could hear the narratives of gods and goddesses, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavata, and so many other Puranas, is singing. This became almost a daily routine. All the women, even sometimes the men of Gada, some Kamarpukur and around, they used to come just to see Gadadhar, just to hear from him, his beautiful voice, the singing, the narratives. So this became almost a daily routine. The women enjoyed it so much that they tried to finish their own daily duties as early as they could so that they might listen to his songs and readings for a longer time. So they could get more time to spend more time with Gadadhar and hear all those things, that beautiful songs, that beautiful voice, that beautiful narrative, how nicely he used to mimic, used to narrate all those things so beautifully. Besides reading the Puranas, Gadadhar entertained the woman in various other ways too. There were then in the villages three parties of yatra players, three different types of yatra means here the drama parties, those who do the dramas. The companies, just like you will have three different varieties. Now, if you go to India, you can see that southern part of India, Yakshagana, the Bayalata, the different dramas. So then there are what do you call the dance type Kathak, Kathakali. So there are so many different types. So in Bengal, especially, this may not be found in all parts of Bengal. In the area of Kamarpukur, in and around Kamarpukur. So now Shardanandaji Maharaj is telling that in that village, Kamarpukur, villagers had three types of these drama parties. The three parties in the village of Yatra players. One of the minstrels. What was the three different types? Minstrels. They were called bauls. It's very popular. Baul Sangeet. Even now, it has become even internationally famed. The baul singers will play the stringed instrument just like tanpura. It is called ektara, and they will also play the rhythm. They will tie that to their waist, the drums, small drums like tabla. They play the rhythm. They will play that monotone or what you call like tanpura. It's called ektara. It will make a little different sound. So in one hand, and they will also dance and dancing so beautiful moment in the dance. They will also sing beautiful, very meaningful, which has very deep meanings, songs on gods and goddesses and also philosophy. So they are called bauls, and their type of singing is called baul sangeet. And one or two of versifiers. So versification or versifiers, they are called kavis, kavi. Again, as many of the villagers were Vaishnavas, most of them in Kamarpukur were Vaishnavas, means followers of Vishnu. So not that they would not pray to Devi, Divine Mother, and Shiva and other deities, they would do that too. But their dominant thing, most of them in Kamarpukur were, the villagers were worshippers of Vishnu, Vaishnavas. There used to be in their houses reading every evening from the Bhagavata. So because they were Vaishnavas, every evening they would be reading in their houses of Bhagavata or singing of the praises of the Divine Lord. So that is very common even now in Bengal. Some parts of Bengal, though the Western thing has creeped in and destroyed so many of our culture, but still you can see that even now. So they very traditionally maintain all those things, the reading of the Bhagavata, the singing, the bhajans, and the praises of the divine Lord in the evening. After finishing the work, they come back and do that. I have seen myself, not in there also I have seen, but I've seen another scene, a very beautiful scene where I was surprised. Once I was traveling in a local train in Bombay. I was going to our ashrama there in Bombay. So there are a lot of facility for local train. All people, most of thousands, even millions travel every day in the local trains. So at that time, what do the mothers who are going to the work and coming back do in the morning and the evening? And what do the men do? So the men, they carry so many musical instruments like dolak, tabla, and other things, kanjari. Then they will start singing harmonium, everything with all the musical instrument. They will all join together while going to the work in the train. So it will take at least some 40 minutes, 1 hour to go from their place to another place. So they will start singing bhajans. So all of them will join. Whole train will be singing bhajans of gods and goddesses, Vithala bhajan, and so many other things. So even while coming back, the menfolk, they will be singing bhajans. Some people, the modern day people, will catch hold of the phone or iPhone and be watching that. That's a different thing. But I have seen myself with my own these eyes while I was traveling in that local train. After becoming a sadhu in Bombay, I was going to the Bombay ashrama to somewhere else. So at that time, to different other places, I saw in the morning, in the evening, all the men folks in the train, they will be singing bhajans because they don't want to waste the time. In the train also, it is there in the tendency, in the genes of Indians, Hindus especially, they do that. Then what do the women folk do? They will be also there in another compartment. Separate women compartment will be there. They will also be doing that bhajans, but not only just doing bhajans. If the men folk are doing bhajans, with that thing, they will be now cleaning the rice. They will be cleaning the vegetables. They will be cutting the vegetables. They will have bought all the vegetables, the cutting, and keeping ready for cooking, and also doing the singing of God. As soon as they go to the house, they put it to the cooker or they will heat it, and everything is ready. Rice, dal, and this thing they will bring to the office. While going back and coming, they will clean it. And while coming back, they will cut the vegetables, take it clean. And as soon as they go to the house, they just boil it and food is ready. So they will sing bhajans, they will do all the work, they will not waste the time. I've seen in the local train myself. So here also in Bengal, and especially in Kamarpukur, Shardanandaji Maharaj is taking us through the people, the way they used to behave, how was their habits. So why is he taking all these things? So that we can inculcate how we can not waste our times in all these modern gadgets, the TV. We are just wasting all our time in the front of that idiot box. They used to call that TV. Many times it is called as idiot box. So it will be just putting us all the wrong things of the world into our mind. They want to increase their TRP ratings and they give so many unnecessary things. We put that and make samskaras and spoil our minds. But instead, see the villagers. We claim ourselves to be highly educated and give a mind to these things. And the people, innocent villagers there, what would they do? Many of the villagers, they used to be in their houses reading every evening from the Bhagavata. Can't we get that Ramayana, Mahabharata every evening after we come back? Why should we waste our time in the TVs and the laptop and the WhatsApp and so many other things? Once a disciple went to his guru and asked him, "Oh, sir, Guruji, what is life?" The Guruji replied, "Now you have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have WhatsApp, you have so many other things, Instagram, laptop, you have your TV, you have your serials, you have your so many programs and all these things. So apart from that, what is left after all these things? That is life. That is the only life you have." The Guruji told that disciple, apart from all these things, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, TikTok, and so many other things are there which are killing your time, wasting your time. So whatever time left after all these things, that is only your life, Guruji replied. So it's something like that we are wasting. See how the innocent people They don't have degrees and master degrees like you and us, but they are innocent. They are village folk, but how nicely they are making use of their time. So what did we do? What are we doing? We have to learn from them now. So what were they doing? They used to be in their houses every day, reading every evening from the Bhagavata, from the Ramayana, from the Mahabharata, or singing of the praises of the Divine Lord. See, people gave up in 1850s or 1860s. They came out of India because there was poverty. British had created famine. The Britishers, the rulers then had created so much of wrong things there in the country, whole of India, poverty and famine and so many other things. They used to artificially create that. So many people had to leave the country in search of jobs, in search of some earning, and they were brought to South Africa. They went to Fiji Islands. They went to Caribbean Islands. They went to some other places. So Suriname, different colonial people took them to different places, but they never forgot to take their religious books. In spite of they couldn't carry anything, they used to carry the Ramayana, Mahabharata. If they come from the belt of around Ayodhya and Bihar and the UP, they used to carry the Ramayana and Mahabharata, especially Ramayana, the Tulsi Ramayana, has protected Hinduism. And if they were from other parts of India, they used to carry the Mahabharata and the stories of Krishna, stories of Muruga, Shiva, and other things. So somehow, with great difficulty, they have kept their religion alive. Even in spite, we are living in India, we are not so interested. But these people who have come out of India for a living because of the poverty created by the British then, they are spread over all over the globe, but they are clinging on to that practices. Still, yet they read Ramayana, they study the Hanuman Chalisa. Anything difficulty here I see. So on the day, special days, they want to recite Hanuman Chalisa 11 times. On the day, birthday of Hanuman, they recite 108 times Hanuman Chalisa. Any difficulty in their life? To overcome that, they recite Hanuman Chalisa. They read Ramayana, the Tulsi Ramayana. They will read other scriptures. They come away from the motherland, but still they are clinging. They want to get more. And what are we doing? Having all the things at our doorsteps, at the click of the button, we are not bothered about it. We have taken it for granted. So here we have to learn from the innocent villages of Kamarpukur. So what the villagers used to do, they used to be in their houses reading. Even now you can see that every evening from the Bhagavata or singing of the praises of the Divine Lord. Now Gadadhar's gift of memory, special memory, photographic memory, enabled Gadadhar to remember many of those musical compositions. If he hears from the bowls once, then that is his, he will never forget again. Also, the style of singing, the way they used to dance and sing, that also has come to Gadadhar. No more training or anything, just see once and he gets it. So Gadadhar, that young boy of 12 now, is expert. He used to remember many of these musical compositions. He used to play the plays, the songs and hymns to God, which he had heard from his childhood. From the age of 6 or 5, he was hearing and he could memorize, he could get everything. He used to imitate, he used to replicate everything into perfection. So from his childhood, he had heard from his childhood. As a special entertainment, one day he would begin a drama. Another day, sing the songs of bauls or kavis, or again sing the praises of the Divine Lord. When he enacted a play, he would himself play the various parts, changing his voice to suit each character. If on any occasions he found his mother or any of the women dejected, if they had some sadness, immediately Gadadhar would notice, then what would he do? If some of the women were dejected, or if his own mother was not in such a good mood, she was dejected. On occasions, he found his mother or any of the women dejected, he would start playing a farce from the place. or would imitate so well the peculiar manners, and gestures of someone in the village known to all of them, and they would roar with laughter. So we hear about the comedy show, that show, that show. You have to go here and there, pay so much of money. But all that entertainment was given by so there were some village personalities who would be very funny and humorous. So perfectly Gadadhar would imitate them and make the woman and his own mother, if they were dejected, with all is this mimicry and imitation, used to entertain them. So how much of jokes, how much of humor, how much of so beautiful imitation. So the ladies used to roar with laughter, and all their dejection, all their miseries would go away. That was how Gadadhar, this young boy, would entertain all the women folk and all the people and the men. Thus Gadadhar exercised an immense influence over the village woman. They'd already heard of the strange dream and spiritual visions that the boy's parents had at the time of his birth. That what Shudarama Chattopadhyay, his father, had the vision about Gadadhara Vishnu, Gaya Vishnu coming to the house. Then what the vision of Mother Chandramani Devi had in the front of that Shiva temple, the light from the Shiva Linga entering her body. And after that, she became pregnant. All those things. Then Gadadhar was born. So they had all heard about it. So now, when I remembered Gadadhar's father, Shudarama Chattopadhyaya, and his beautiful ways, how nicely he was an ideal father, looked after the child in such a good way. So I just wanted to remind all of you that today is Father's Day. Just like they celebrate in the Western countries Mother's Day, Father's Day, for us, especially Hindus, every day is a Mother's Day, every day is a Father's Day. We have to look after our father and mother as the veritable manifestations of gods and goddesses. So they are our highest gods and goddesses. That is our father and mother. So today, the Western people, they don't have that concept. Once they, what do you call, are grown up, they just leave their parents and they make a separate house and they leave their father and mother alone to fend for themselves. Once on their birthday or some such day, they go with a rose or some flowers or a bouquet, give some sweets, presentation, then wish them happy Father's Day, happy Mother's Day, happy birthday, and there ends the matter. But for Hindus, it is for us, especially Indians, every day should be Father's Day and Mother's Day because we have to treat them, we have to serve them, look after our father and mother with great care. We have to serve them because we have not seen God, we have seen them. There's a saying in India that God couldn't be present everywhere. So he created mother, he created also father. So that God can't be everywhere, present everywhere, manifest him. So he created father and mother, especially mother. So serving mother is the highest thing, highest worship which we can do. You can get everything by looking after your father and mother. Our scriptures tell, if you please by your service to the mother, if you look after her very well, if you make her happy by your service, all the types of service to mother and making her happy, then you will get all the richness, all the wealth in this life itself. You will get all happiness and joy in this life itself if you look after your mother with great care. If you take care of your father, if you are obedient to father, you take great care of your father, then what is going to happen? Then our scriptures tell that you will get all the higher other afterlife, the higher lokas, the heaven, the Gandharva Loka and other things. You will get all those things, the higher lokas, Pitru lokas, and you can enjoy hereafter. If you look after your mother, very nicely serve your mother with great care and devotion, you will get all wealth, all happiness in this life itself. If you look after your father, very nicely treat him, serve him with great utmost care, then you will, our scriptures tell, you will get all the happiness and joy hereafter, all that lokas, heaven, everything. So, how great, how lucky we are to be born as Hindus and Indians, that we can serve our father and mother. Okay, now people, because of the modern and especially the Western influence, they have forgotten to serve their father and mother. At least once in a year, Father's Day is celebrated. They go to the what you call old age home or nursing home or to their houses, separate houses, give them some gifts. Hello, hi, how are you, father? Happy Father's Day. There ends the matter and come back. Eat something with them and come back. No, every day should be Father's Day. Every day should be Mother's Day. We have to take care of them with utmost care. There was one lady, the from America, Win Oprah, if I am right. She's a very celebrity on the television of America. She had come to India. There was a big, the our media people made it a very big issue there. Issue in the sense, it was very popular shows everywhere. At the time, she had an interview with one of the big cinema actors or hero of Hindi cinema. That was she had the interview with the son of one of that actor called Amitabh Bachchan. So his name was Abhishek Bachchan. This happened maybe some 15, 20 years back. So I read that, or I got the news from one of our students, because we don't have the uh, way by which we can read only in the newspaper or sometimes from the students. So at that time, that lady from America, Oprah Winfrey or something, I forgot the name. She's a very famous TV personality. She asked this boy at the time, he was a young actor, Abhishek Bachchan. I cannot understand how can you live with your parents after you're grown up. It's not our culture in America or in the Western country. The moment you are grown up, they just give up and go away. How can you live with your father and mother even after you are old, you are married and you have children? How can you live with your father and mother? Then immediately that boy, or he was then a elderly person, not very elderly, Abhishek Bachchan questioned her, shot back with another question. How can you not live with your father and mother? She was taken aback. That's our culture. He told, that's our culture, Hindu culture. We have to serve our father and mother when they are old. We have to be with them, make them happy, take care of them. So, how can you not be with your father and mother? That was the question. I really felt so happy. Yes, that is Hindu culture. And there's no other go. We have to wish, we have to celebrate Father's Day and Mother's Day. But for us Hindus, especially for everyone, it should be like that. For Indians, every day should be Father Day, every day should be Mother Day. We have to take care of our father and mother. What is there higher than that? What do we have higher than that? You can see Gadadhar, how nicely he used to take care of his father, how he was obedient. He was so nice to his father. And now, how he's so nicely taking care of the mother until his last breath. Until his last breath, he had that ideal devotion to mother. Until mother died in her 86th year, Ramakrishna was then something like the age of 40 or 45. He was still taking care of mother with great care. If father would have been there, he would have done the same thing. So let us celebrate this Father Day not only on this day, because they sacrifice so much. They sacrifice all their joys and this thing for the children. How grateful should we be? Should we be so selfish that we are not grateful to them? So we shall celebrate this Father's Day not just on this day giving some flowers and other things, but it, every breath of ours, every life of ours, whatever career we may be having, we should celebrate it as Father's Day and Mother's Day every day. Serve them with utter great care and be obedient to them. So now coming back to Gadadhar's life here, thus Gadadhar exercised an immense influence over the village woman. They had already heard of the strange dream and spiritual visions that the boy's parents had had at the time of his birth. And they had also seen with their own eyes the extraordinary change that came over his mind and body whenever he came in touch with the spirit of gods and goddesses. Therefore, it was quite natural that his intense devotion to God, his absorption when reading the Puranas, his sweet singing, and his unconventional, simple hearted behavior towards them all aroused in those women a unique devotion and affection for him. So they knew about who this child was, the vision of the father, the vision of the mother. Is not an ordinary child. Gaya Vishnu is telling that I will come to your house as your son. Shiva, now in the form of light, entering the womb of Mother Chandra Devi, all that they knew. They knew he was not an ordinary child. Then, apart from that, that was not alone. That itself didn't suffice for them. So many other great character, nature, trait of Gadadhar, that endeared Gadadhar to all of them. They had also seen with their own eyes the extraordinary change that came over his mind and body whenever he came in touch with the spirit of gods and goddesses. So much of devotion. Therefore, it was quite natural that his intense devotion to God, his absorption when reading the Puranas, his sweet singing, and his unconventional, simple hearted behavior. Behavior is also so sweet and so good. And what has the mother taught when he was so young? I exist in all the women. If you insult any woman, it is just like insulting me. So you have to look after all the women like your own mother. The teaching has gone so deep into the mind of Gadadhar. So he's continuing with that, looking after all the women as his own mother. You could see Chandra and Dhani, the mother who helped in giving birth to Gadadhar, had asked that he should give the first bhiksha and call her mother on that day, on the sacred day of investiture in the sacred thread, Yagnopavita Dharana. And he did it. Why? He saw his own mother in her too. He went against the rules and regulations of that time. He was ready to argue with his brother, telling that I have to keep up the word, the truthfulness. So that was his beautiful nature. He used to look after all the women as his own mother, take care, special care, and respect them. So naturally, that love for them, love for that boy will increase. Therefore, it was quite natural that his intense devotion to God, his absorption when reading the Puranas, the scriptures, his sweet singing, and his unconventional, simple-hearted behavior towards them, all aroused in those women a unique devotion and affection for him. We are told that Prasannamai and other elderly women, very elderly women of Kamarpukur at the time, all these Prasannamai and other elderly women in Kamarpukur saw in Gadadhar the manifestation of divine boy Gopala. As I told you, they were all Vaishnavas. So they were all great devotees of Krishna, the Vaishnavas. So they saw the manifestation of Gopala, the boy in the divine boy Gopala in Gadadhar. So they could see Gadadhar is none other than their Bala Gopala, and loved him even more than their own sons. So all the women, the elderly women, started showing their affection and love towards Gadadhar even more greater than their own children, their own sons. And younger women, believing that he was born as a part of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, looked upon him as their spiritual lover and friend. So some of them even had, because thinking that, not only thinking they could see the manifestation of Krishna. The Vaishnava have this attitude, the Madhura Bhava. So they started looking the younger woman, him as his friend. Many of these women were born in the Vaishnava families, and a simple poetic faith was the basis of their religion. Therefore, it is not incredible that they actually believed this boy of noble mien and character to be God himself. Because of this faith, they would come and tell him without any reserve their innermost thoughts and would seek his advice and try to follow it. On such occasions, Gadadhar also behaved with these young women as if he were one of them. See, now you saw that at the age of 7, when there was a congregation of all the great scholars, the Sanskrit Pandits, the Vedic Pandits, they were all discussing some terse philosophy. They couldn't come to it. There was some argumentation. They couldn't come to a conclusion about one thing. They were all confused. At that time, this young Gadadhar, this boy of 7 or 8, hearing all those things, he gave such a beautiful solution that all that scholars were mesmerized. They blessed him that he will become a very great person in future. And they showered their love upon him. They embraced him. What a great child. What we couldn't do, the great scholars, he gave the solution. So now all these women, they used to open up their innermost thoughts without any reserve. Because of this faith in Gadadhar, that child Gadadhar, they would come and tell him without any reserve their innermost thoughts, and they would seek his advice and try to follow it. They had so much deep faith in Gadadhar. On such occasions, Gadadhar also behaved with these young women as if they were one of them. It will be seen from the facts recorded in the second chapter what a strong desire Gadadhar had at that time, referred to there to be completely like a woman. He could become like a woman, like a girl, and also he would be a man. He was beyond all these things. Just like the God Parabrahma Swarupa, he was beyond all these gender of man and woman or neuter gender or something like that. You can see in the sadhanas later on, he could be a perfect man, he could become a perfect woman, he could think of the formless with the form. So he could adapt to anything. Now, Gadadhar also behaved with these young women as if they were one of them. He would sometimes act the parts of well known female characters and put on women's dress and ornaments. So while mimicking, while he used to play the dramas to entertain all the people there in Kamarpukur, sometimes he used to dress like women, well known female characters, and put on women's apparel, dress, and ornaments. He did this when, at the request of his women friends, he acted the part of Radharani, the lover of Krishna, Radha. He used to put the role of Radharani also, or of her intimate companions, the Vrindas, the Gopikas. So he used to play the role of Gopikas, he used to play the role of Radharani. He acted the part of Radharani or of her intimate companion, Vrinda. He would then be exactly like a woman in his gestures, voice, and movements too, because he was expert and adept in mimicry and imitation, and he could even change his voice. So in mimicry, you can see people can change their voice, the bassest voice of the male and the shrill voice of the women, anything he could change. He was adept in that. He was expert. So while he would put the dress of Radharani and play that role of Mother Radha or her intimate companion, the Gopikas, the Vrinda, he would then be exactly like a woman in gesture, voice, and movements. The village woman would say that nobody could recognize him then. Even the women folk, even other men folk couldn't recognize that it was Gadadhar, a boy. They would think that he's a woman. Such was the way, perfect way he could play that part. The village woman would say that nobody could recognize him then. This shows how minutely the boy had observed the various ways of woman. With his love of fun, he would often pass in that disguise. He would put the dress of a woman with all the ornaments, and he was disguised. In that disguise, he would pass in front of men with a picture under his arm, just like the ladies in the village. They would carry the picture on the waist and walk. Gadadhar would put the role of a girl or a woman in such a way and pass there. The menfolk would be surprised. Some new woman has come, some new girl has come to the village. So in disguise in front of the men with the picture under his arm to fetch water from the Haldar Pukur. In Kamar Pukur, you can find out that lake is there. As if he used to go to fetch water from there, Haldar Pukur, and no one would ever suspect that he was not a woman. Such was the perfection. He could play the role. This young boy had the talent. So we have already spoken of Sitanath Paine, a rich man of the village. He had 7 sons and 8 daughters. So that was the way of life in those days. They used to have a lot of children. Common minimum was 10, 12, 15. So every parents would have so many children because in those days all the children would not survive because there was no vaccination, there was no inoculation, there was no such child safety things. Many children would die. So they needed children to take care of the property, take care of their work. So they used to have many children so that some children may survive. So every parents, most of the parents in those days used to have minimum 10 children, 12, 15, so or more. So you can see here, this rich man, Sitanath Paine, a rich man of the village. He was a neighbor of Ramakrishna or Gadadhar. He had 7 sons and 8 daughters. 15. He had 7 sons and 8 daughters who lived as a joint family in Sitana's house even after marriage. It is said that such a huge quantity of spices was necessary for cooking their food that 10 stone slabs were required to grind these spices and make a paste of them every day. The family and the family members, their children and their grandchildren, and their relatives, the joint family had so many family members. He himself had 15 children and their family and their neighbors. Neighbors in the sense their relatives. It was a joint family and such a big family. Every day they had to use more than 10 slabs, stone slabs to grind the masala, the spices, to make it into paste. So many people used to take food there. So much of cooking was to be done. It is said that such a huge quantity of spices was necessary for cooking their food that 10 stone slabs were required to grind these spices and make a paste of them every day. Many distant relatives of Sitanath had also built their houses near his and lived there. Therefore, that part of Kamarpukur was known as the traders' quarters. They were all tradesmen. So that part was called the traders' quarters. So they lived there. All of them lived there together. Being situated near Kshudiram's house, many women of that quarters, especially Sitanath's wives and daughters, used to come to Chandramani Devi during their leisure, and thus they came to know Gadadhar intimately. They would often take him to their own houses and ask him to play the part of dramatic personalities or impersonate certain women characters in women's dress. Many of Sitanath's women relatives were forbidden to go outside, to go to any place outside the family house. Therefore, they had not the good fortune to listen to Gadadhar's reading and songs at Chandramani's place. Perhaps that was why Sitana's wife and daughters invited him to their house, because in those days women were not allowed to go outside. The parda system was there. No other than their own family, no other men could be seeing any women of other family. So there was the parda system. Even inside the house, anybody comes to their house, they used to stay only in the outside part of the house. They couldn't enter the inner apartments. So where the women and only the menfolk of their family could enter. So that parda system was very strict at that time. People of India can know that many people, older people, know all those things. And also the women folk were supposed to cover their faces always. You can see Mother Sharda Devi doing all that thing. The tradition was there, very strict at that time. So it was ordinary at that time. It was an ordinary practice at that time. But in this family, especially many of the Sitanath's women relatives were forbidden to go out of their houses to any place outside the family house. Therefore, they had not the good fortune to listen to Gadadhar. Even going to the Chandramani's house, they couldn't go there too. Perhaps that was why Sitanath's wife and daughters invited him to their house, so that if Gadadhar come to their house, they can see, they can hear him singing, narrating the stories of gods and goddesses. So there it was that many women of the traders' quarters who could not go to Chandra Devi's saw Gadadhar and became fond of him. Whenever they heard that he was at Sitanath's house, they went there and enjoyed listening to his reading of the scriptures or seeing his acting and impersonations. The master of the house, Sitanath, loved Gadadhar, that boy, very much. And the other men of that quarters knew what a fine character that boy possessed. Because this boy, the beautiful teaching of the mother and father was so much so that after the Chandramani told that in all the women I exist, he used to see and treat all the women, whether small girl or whether elderly, like his own mother Chandra Devi. You should remember later on when Shada Devi was pressing the feet of Master and asked him, "How do you look at me? What is your attitude towards me?" What was the reply of Ramakrishna? The biological mother who is sitting there on the Nahabat, on the Nahabat, on the first floor of Mount Nahabat, that is Chandramani Devi, and the divine mother who is in the temple, the Bhavatarani, Dakshineshwara Vasini, Bhavatarani Kali, and is the same who is also sitting at the feet and pressing my feet. I don't see any difference in them. You see the teaching corroborating the practice unto the last. Once that is faith, once the mother has told, he's got it. So now he's treating all the women folk there in the locality, outside, anybody he meets like his own mother Chandra Devi. So naturally, that Vatsalya Bhava, they will also feel, as I told you, some of the, not some, most of the women in Kamarpukur used to feel, love Gadadhar even more their own sons. So therefore, you can see a Sitanath also, the head of the family, the master of the house, Sitanath, loved Gadadhar very much. And the other men of the quarter knew what fine character the boy possessed. Therefore, they did not raise any objection to their women folk listening to the boy singing or singing the praises of God. They had no objection because of the pure character of that boy. The only person from the traders' quarters who raised any objection was Durga Das Pine. So what did this Durga Das Pine? What was his nature? He too had a high opinion of Gadadhar. He too loved Gadadhar. He too had high opinion about Gadadhar and liked him. But he would under no circumstance allow any relaxation of the strict Parda system observed by his women. So he would boast. He was egoistic. He used to boast to Sitanath and other men folk and other relatives that nobody had ever seen the woman of his house. Nobody had seen the woman folk of his house. No man other than him and his family members could see. So he used to boast. He was so arrogant. But he loved Gadadhar. He had high respect for Gadadhar, but he used to boast like this. He boasted to Sitanath and other relatives that nobody had ever seen the woman of his house. That was the Parda system at that time. We are all now in Kamarpukur in 165 years back. So you can see the society at that time. So this Sitanath Pine boasted to the Durga Das Pine boasted to Sitanath and other relatives that nobody had ever seen the woman of his house or could know anything about the inner apartment where they lived. He even looked down upon Sitanath and others who did not, like him, enforce that strict Parda system. One day, this Durga Das was bragging thus before a relative with arrogancy when Gadadhar came there. On hearing him, the small boy Gadadhar said, "Uncle, Mama, Durga Das Mama, can women be protected by Parda?" Just by locking up people, can you bring them good character? Can women be protected by parda only? Because now Gadadhar already is proficient in scriptures. He's asking that Durgadas, can women be only protected by parda? Yes, restrictions are necessary, but can they be only protected by restrictions or locking them up? So that was a question of this young boy Gadadhar to Durgadas. Oh Mama, Durgadas Mama, can women be protected by parda? They can be protected only through good moral training and devotion to God. What a great word. What a great teaching of this young boy, Gadadhar. Can you imagine? Gadadhar is telling, can anybody protect a woman or man or anybody by just locking them up? By parda, by keeping them inside? You can really protect. See, this is a very great lesson which we have to learn. We have to etch that in our heart. We have to keep this deep in our heart. What is the teaching? They can, men or women or anybody, children can be protected only through good moral training and devotion to God. People can be protected, whether men or women, can be protected only through good moral training and devotion to God. The real method of protecting people, Gadadhar at this small age is giving at the age of 13 or even lesser than that. What is that? I'll read it again. On hearing the bragging of Durgada's spine, thus before a relative Gadadhar came there, on hearing him, the boy said, can women be protected by parda, by locking them up? They can be protected only through good moral training and devotion to God. That's why we immediately after the lockdown, that was our paramount interest. Our children are to be protected. We started on Sunday the children's class, Hinduism training for the children. So all our members of our ashrama, we planned, sat together. Every week we sit, what are the things to be given to the children? What are the moral training? I think next, that is not next, today is Sunday. The topic is, two topics have been given. What is that? To the children. The notes have already been given to them, supplied to them. About what? About the children will be trained today how to look after your father and mother, how to respect your father and mother, how should you be obedient to your father and mother, how should you treat your father and mother. That's the today's topic. One topic. The other topic is how to do worship, how to do puja, how to do arati, how to keep up your shrine in the house. What is the way that is taught today? That's the subject. Two things are there. Then the last week's homework, whether they've done yoga, whether they've done pranayama, so that their health will be perfect. So we are giving them that moral training and devotion to the parents, devotion to God. That only can protect. Locking up them up inside, punishing them with cane, scolding them is not the only way. That maybe necessary. But the important training is Gadadhar is showing. What is that? Beautiful way Gadadhar is putting in that small child. Can you imagine? They can be protected only through good moral training and devotion to God. So you've got a great lesson. We have to learn by these words of Gadadhar. We can protect our children. We can protect ourselves. We can protect anybody for that sake. Anybody, man or woman, children. Not by just locking up. Yeah, restrictions are needed. Punishments are needed. Harsh things are needed to very, very minimum extent. But what is the real thing which we can protect? Ourselves, our children, our men, our women. Gadadhar is giving that wonderful thing. He's telling, on hearing that Durgada's spine bragging, Gadadhar, that young Gadadhar is telling, can women be protected by parda? They can be protected only through good and moral training and devotion to God. Only devotion to God and moral training, good moral training can protect us. I can see now Gadadhar is telling, I can see everyone and know everything of the inner apartment of your house if I want to. this small young boy challenged the Durga Das Paine, who was bragging, arrogant, telling that nobody has seen. I have kept them so safely. You are not doing so. He was bragging. Then wonderful teaching has been given by this Gadadhar, telling that can women be protected by parda? They can be protected only through good moral training and devotion to God. If you want, if you challenge, I can, this young boy is telling, I can see every woman folk in your house and know everything of the inner apartment of your house if I want. At this, Durga Das Paine became very even more boastful and said, well, let me see you lad, you chota, you bacha, let me see how you can do it. Very well, we shall see, said Gadadhar, accepting the challenge and went away. The small boy told, yes, very well, I accept the challenge. And he went away. I will show you. Not just by locking up, you can make good people, but by devotion to God, teaching about God, the good qualities, giving you the good moral training only, you can really make people good. So, what a wonderful way to end our today's session. Wonderful teaching by Gadadhar telling that the real way of training people, protecting everybody, whether children, men or women, is not by locking or just punishing or just restricting them. It is really by giving good moral training. We have to bombard their minds. We have to brainwash to the extent, brainwash in the sense, we have to pour in good thoughts, good things continuously to the children, only good things, positive things, and devotion to God, about God. Then there is no chance for the children to learn anything bad or get spoiled because those things are ringing in their mind again and again coming up. It will help really. So at the thought level, at the character level is the protection to be given. Yes, at the physical level too, lock up and other things are needed. It's a very small bit. Now that alone cannot protect anybody. Real protection is intense moral training. Start from today, start from this second. Intense moral training, moral teaching to our children, to our men, women, husband, wife, children, relatives, neighbors, everybody. Give them intense moral training, good training, and devotion to God. That can only really protect us in all the ways, even physically, mentally, spiritually. Only devotion to God can protect us. Only good moral training can protect us. What a right way Gadadhar has taught us today. What a wonderful teaching we got. So, with this high note, we will end today's discussion on the life of Sri Ramakrishna, the great master, which is called Leela Prasanga in Bengali language. Sharda Nandaji Maharaj has written it as Leela Prasanga. Leela means sports. Prasanga means the events of the Lord. Sri Ramakrishna, Leela Prasanga. So that is the great master. Ramakrishna, the great master in English. Okay. Now we have some 6 or 7 minutes left. If you have any doubts, if you have any questions on today's discussion on spirituality, you can ask. You are entertained. Ask. We have 5 or 6 minutes. Are there any questions? Are there any doubts to be asked about today's discussion?
Maharaj, Madhu here.
Yes, please tell, Madhu.
Maharaj, what is morality in practical terms? So
Yeah.
what exactly is morality?
Yeah, because I can't give you a broad explanation, but today I will tell you one beautiful explanation of morality. Swami Vivekananda tells the minimum explanation of morality or ethics is all that is selfish, is immoral, unethical. All that is unselfish is moral and ethical. Could you get it? All that is selfish for myself, my enjoyment, my sense gratification, that is immoral, unethical. All that is unselfish for others, helping the society, doing good to people, myself being good and doing good to people, other people, helping others and all the way, society and everything, doing good to other people. All that is unselfish is moral and ethical. So this is the minimum thing which we can explain. You can go on expanding this hours together about morality and ethics, but minimum thing, the basic thing is given by Swami Vivekananda. So all that is selfish is immoral, unethical. All that is unselfish is moral and ethical. Okay.
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Any other questions or any other? Doubts?
Om Narayana Namo Maharaj.
Om Namo Narayanaya. I know who is it, Mother?
Maharaj, this is Vandana from Muscat.
Yes, Mother.
Swamiji, I want to thank you because we were pressing you, for the recordings. So found the 25th May recordings of the Great Master. Thank you so much.
I am very thankful to Sridhar Jagwant who has uploaded those things. After all the devotees, he has uploaded some of them. I think regularly it will be uploaded to our the YouTube channel, Mother.
That will be highly beneficial, Maharaj. Thank you
Yes,
so much. And Maharaj, today I need your special blessings. Today is my birthday too.
Oh, yes, Mother. Let Divine Mother and God bless you always continuously, not only today, but all the part of your life. I pray that she will take care of you and you and make you highly spiritual. Thank you, Mother. Now today is not only Father's Day, today is also another special event, that is the what you call Surya Grahana. Today is solar eclipse. A very special event which takes place very rarely. So our scriptures tell that whatever you do on the day of solar eclipse, especially during the time of eclipse, whether it is lunar or solar, so the result of that will be multiplied 100 times. Suppose if you do charity, suppose if you do japa, worship, puja, meditation, and good things, helping other people, charity. So now, just like we did this reading of the scripture of the life of Ramakrishna, so it is so beneficial, so good thing that will be multiplied 100 times. So during the time of Grahana, especially you may be knowing the time, at that time, you do the meditation, do puja, do reading and charity also. If you want to give any charity to any people, you can set it aside in front of the God to poor people or anything. And then you can afterwards, after the Grahana, you can give that to any poor people or anybody, any charity for the temple or anything. So that will multiply by 100 times, whatever you do.
Wonderful, Maharaj. Jai Thakur, Jai Swami. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
And today is Yoga Day too.
Namaste, Maharaj.
Namaste. Can I know who is that? Who is?
I am Bhagya Swamiji from Bangalore.
Yes, Mother. Yes, Mother.
I'm very happy. You have made this time very valuable because of this lecture, Swamiji. So
Thank
as
you,
you
Mother.
said this eclipse time, we have done a very good job by listening to your speech, Swamiji. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mother. I am blessed that I could do some service to the devotees of the Master.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you. For my pranams.
Pranams.
Jai Ram.
Any more question or any more? Namaste. Who is it?
It's Munesh. How are you?
Oh, Munesh ji, please tell Munesh ji, how is your health?
Oh, well, Maharaj, thanks to
Very good.
how to being and the faith as you're teaching us how to get there slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, I think I got a WhatsApp that said earlier that it's Surya Graha in Johannesburg was happening whilst the satsang was happening. So I think it ended just past 7 o'clock, 7:15, somewhere there. So I just thought I'll share that with everyone in Johannesburg as well.
Can you please repeat it? When is the time in South Africa, solar eclipse?
I'm not sure if it's true, but I got a WhatsApp. It started just before 7 o'clock, I think 6:54. It's just 5 to 7. And
AM or PM?
No, this morning, now, whilst we were doing the satsang.
Oh, it is really wonderful because we were reading the life of Master and we were thinking of God and we are reading the scriptures. So we have done a wonderful thing during that period. So we are all blessed again. The result will multiply by 100 times.
Yeah. Namaste, Maharaj.
Namaste. Om, Om.
Namaste, Swamiji.
Namaste, Mother. May I know who is it?
Nirmala Swamiji, Bangalore.
Okay, okay, Mother. Okay, Mother.
And this is Madhyama Kala here in India, Swamiji.
Okay, okay, okay. Whatever.
Madhyama Kala Grahana right now, 11:50.
Wonderful.
This is so nice.
We are thinking of God. We are thinking of Ramakrishna. We are thinking of our Ishtadevata and morality and other things. So we are really blessed to do this wonderful thing. Exactly. See, it has coincided. This is the grace of God.
Yes, exactly. We started at the time of starting of Grahana and we are in Madhyama Kala. It was so nice.
We can continue, we can do puja, we can be doing all the things. So it will still multiply. Continue with your japa.
Yes,
charity or anything. You can set aside anything for charity for the temple or something that will multiply 100 times. Anything done today.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, okay, Mother. Jai Ram Krishna.
Namaskar. Jai Ram Krishna.
Any other questions or doubts, or else I can end with the prayer.
Om Namo Narayana.
Om Namo Narayanaya.
Sunny here, Maharaj. Sunny Jagwant.
Yes, Sunny Jagwant, please tell.
Maharaj, thank you for being such a beautiful father to us all. And we wish you a happy Father's Day. May you have a happy, happy day today. We love you very much, Maharaj. Thank you.
I'm not father of anybody. I'm the child of Divine Mother. So I will wish Father's Day to everybody, but I am the child of Divine Mother. That's all I know.
Yes.
Father of everyone.
No, not at all.
Maharaj.
I'm just the child of Divine Mother. That's all. Okay. We will end the session with the prayer. Om Priyatam Pundari Kakshaha Sarvayagneshwaro Harihi Tasmin Tushte Jagat Tushtam Prenite Prenitam Jagat Harihi Om Tatsat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Namaskar. Thank you. Jai Ram Krishna. Om Namo Narayana.